What's going on, everybody? Woodward Bets back in the house on a beautiful Tuesday evening here in Metro Detroit. I am Beer, joined as always by my boy Scott. And Scott, coming off a big night of sports. We had NFL, we had MLB. Tonight we kick off the NBA season. More playoff baseball to look at. We'll take a look at NFL, the injury report, as well as some waiver wire pickups. And we'll also look at some NBA futures. Who's getting bet to win the title. So a lot going on here today. To cover, a lot of stuff to cover, I should say. So, Scott, how we doing? How did Monday night treat you? Another good night for you, from what I'm hearing.
Yeah, Monday was great. I really was all over the Red Sox, as everybody knows, and had a little extra lunch money today in my account. So, went out and kind of, I think I ate a little too much for lunch today there, buddy. Woo! I was enjoying that food today. I was smashing it. But, yeah, it was great. The Red Sox, I mean, I just wasn't a believer in Urquidy, and he got beat up. I think we got a similar situation today. So I actually hit a single game parlay too yesterday that paid me close to 1,000 smokers. So yeah, it was a good day all in all, and looking forward to kind of breaking down some stuff today. I think I got a good one today for us. So we'll pass that on as the show goes.
Here we go. We'll get into all that again. We're going to cover NBA. We're going to cover MLB. We're going to get an early look at football, injuries, waivers, some of the early lines as well. We love taking a look at those and seeing if there's any edge there as well. A few reminders. First of all, make sure you follow us on Twitter at Woodward Bets. That's where we're going to take all your questions. So tomorrow we have our KMA segment. Allows you to sound off on something that did not make you happy this weekend. So please get that to us. Also, every Friday, we're going to cover your sit-start questions, your trade questions. We're getting into the meat of bye weeks. And I don't know about you guys out there, but I know I'm looking at a lot of my teams, and there's a lot of good teams on bye this week. So we are here to help you again at Woodward Bets. Follow the network at Woodward Sports. And make sure you get over and check out our sponsor, Underdog Fantasy. Use our promo code WSN over there at Underdog, and it's a great place to do best ball drafts. Different props are available over there. Tons of different contests in all the major sports. So you got football, again, NBA start, MLB playoffs, hockey. So plenty of things there for everybody. Buy-ins as low as $1 all the way up to the high stakes. So again, promo code WSN as in Woodward Sports Network at Underdog Fantasy. $10 deposit is going to get you $10 free to use over there. Go and check them out today at Underdog Fantasy. All right, Scott, let's get into things here today. Let's start with the NBA here. Just a little appetizer here tonight. Now, tomorrow we got a ton of games on the slate, but tonight, two-gamer. The NBA always starts out with some mega games, and we certainly get that tonight. Milwaukee and the Brooklyn Nets. We also have the Lakers and Golden State here tonight. So quite a doubleheader to get us going. Again, Wednesday, there's going to be a ton more that we can get into with DFS and things like that. Still going to play DFS tonight, no doubt. But these two gamers are a little tricky sometimes. But just overall thoughts here. I know you're maybe not as excited about the NBA as I love the NBA. It's probably my second favorite sport, my second favorite DFS sport for sure. Growing up collecting cards, it was less baseball as I got older, more basketball. And things like NBA Top Shot going on, just a lot of hype around the NBA right now. So excited for the return here. So we're going to get into some futures here, but let's take a look at tonight's slate, tonight's games. Anything stand out here, betting-wise, DFS-wise, whatever you want to talk about, man. I'm just excited the NBA season is back starting here tonight.
Yeah, I'll tell NBA DFS is probably the second best DFS sport, as you said. I mean, in reality, as far as a pool of type players. I mean, football will always be king, but NBA is second. I got to say, even though I am a baseball guy, NBA does do a lot better as far as prize pools and different players. So, yeah, I'm excited for NBA. I mean, I do pay attention to it. I just don't say I'll get as excited to watch all the games. I'm almost one to just kind of set my lineup, kind of pay attention, and then kind of just let it ride out. A lot of time I don't watch all the games as I do all the other sports, but it is fun to play some DFS. Definitely a different creature. So I'm going to be leaning on you a little bit as we move along the season, which I'm happy to do. I know you definitely follow a lot closer. NBA is a different kind of animal for DFS. I was actually going to spend some time today and make sure that I'm following all the beat writers for all the teams, because NBA with all the news and everything and the late scratches and that's really important in NBA. You got to keep your ear to the ground. So if you're pretty busy at night and don't really have time to pay attention, NBA can be a tough ride. But yeah, you talk about tonight. I mean, yeah, they got two of the teams that you're excited because your boys are coming out tonight. They're
Oh,
going to
yeah.
raise up that banner. I know that's why you're excited.
Absolutely.
So
And you get a premium matchup here with the Nets. But again, you mentioned some of the keys with NBA, and there's obviously a lot more to it. And we're going to go more in depth on some of this stuff when we have lighter news days. Today, unfortunately, is not that day. But you mentioned it. NBA is news driven. It's projection driven. You really have to be paying attention throughout the day. I don't advise building lineups early in NBA. And maybe tonight you can. Tomorrow, there's going to be less news that happens last minute. We're going to know about a lot of things happening in the NBA. But day to day, it's best to wait until you have those injury reports. You have all that news. You have the proper projections, the ownership projections. There's a lot that goes into NBA, and it's the most news-driven sport playing fantasy that there is. Football, we tend to know who's going to be in and out. We get that 90 minutes before the game. Basketball, you got to be ready to – sometimes right before things lock, Scott, you know that you get that news and you got about – a minute, 2 minutes to react to it. So we'll continue to, like you said, the beat writers and the little edges that you can have, finding a projection source that you trust, finding news sources that you trust. But it is a fun game, no doubt. And the more you're paying attention to me, the more that you have an edge on the field in the NBA. So excited to get this going here. Let's look at tonight as far as the games go. We got the Bucks and the Nets. Yes, I'm super excited here. For my team to kick off the season. A tough draw here. I mean, you got to go against the big two. No Kyrie Irving. We don't need to get into all that. And the vaccine, he will not be playing here tonight. But you still have Kevin Durant. You still have James Harden. Bucks pretty much fully loaded here. A few minor injuries on that side. And then we get Golden State and the Lakers. And I think this is going to be a big bounce back year for Golden State. Getting Steph Curry back, getting Clay back at some point. The Lakers obviously poised for a title run. We know a lot of people betting on the Lakers. We're going to look at that here momentarily with LeBron, Anthony Davis, bringing in a Carmelo Anthony, some other veterans, Dwight Howard, guys like that. So excited here for tonight. So anything standing out to you in these games, on these totals? I know there's a total that you're liking here tonight. We'll get the spreads here in a minute, but anything really standing out here? We got Milwaukee. Let's see. Milwaukee is sitting at 234. So pretty high. I think we both kind of agree on that. Spread is Bucks -2. It opened up at Bucks -0.5. So it's been bet up a little bit here. And then the other game, we have LA started at -5.5 down to -3.5. And the total has come down from 230.5 to 226.5. So let's start there, Scott. Any thoughts on these lines, on these totals for tonight?
Yeah, just kind of noticing the trends. I mean, it looks like what the lines opened at, I mean, they all have dropped both of them have dropped pretty close to 5 to 6 points. So I think Vegas a lot of people are expecting it to kind of just be a little slower coming out the gate offensively for these teams. So I kind of agree with them. And that's where I am liking that under in that Bucks and Brooklyn game. I think the Bucks are going to be all excited for raising the banner. The fans are going to be into it. I think, you may just start out a little slow there in that game. Obviously, no Kyrie. So I think that one's going to be a little bit more slower pace than we would normally see. But yeah, I like that under in that Bucks game. As far as Golden State and the Lakers, I think you're right. I think Golden State is going to be a team, especially at first, that we might get a discount on at first, just trying to gauge how good they are. I mean, we saw prior to last year how good they were. So I'm just going to rely on the fact that, you get Curry back, you get Thompson. So I really like that 3.5 points I'm getting tonight against the Lakers. I think Curry's going to come out and have a pretty good game tonight.
Yeah, I really like him. And I think in general here tonight, again, a two-gamer in NBA is tough. When we get those 9, 10, 11 gamers like we have tomorrow, ownership will spread out a little bit more. We know 1, 2 games, it's really tough to get different from your opponent. So ways to do that, leave money on the table, I think is the biggest way. And I think that first game is going to be the one everybody goes to. I think there's just more higher-end star power. You start to look at projections and ceilings. You're going to see Giannis. You're going to see Durant. You're going to see Harden way up there, who might not project as well, are the LeBrons, Anthony Davis, Steph Currys of the world in that later game. So a simplistic way to get different is to focus more on that second game, pick some value pieces from the first game. I think value-wise, Jordan Poole, obviously a guy that most people are going to be looking at here tonight. A guy that's really done well. Local guy, obviously, University of Michigan boy. So a shout-out to him. But he projects very well here tonight. Played very well in the preseason. Looks like he's going to be one of their main cogs till they get Klay Thompson back. I mean, we're talking about a couple weeks, maybe a month before he's ready to go here. Poole's a guy that can provide some offense on the side of Steph Curry. Draymond, a guy that's going to do more of the dirty work. They're going to need scorers. So he projects well. He will be highly owned, though. Kent Bazemore, guy that I think's in a good spot here tonight. As far as the first game, there could be some value without Kyrie Irving in that lineup. Guys like former Piston Bruce Brown looks like a guy I like a lot projection-wise. Jordan Nwora from Milwaukee is a guy, again, like Poole. Played very well in preseason. Very much reminds me of Christian Wood, a guy that comes up with the Bucks, plays well in the preseason. We'll see if they give him a chance. Hopefully they don't ship him away. But this is a guy that can flat-out score the basketball. So I would think his role grows with this team. No Portis here tonight, so that may open up some minutes for him. So those are a few of the guys that I really like here. And I agree on that under in the first game. It's tough to bet unders. Two teams that love to get up and down the floor. Two teams that are very explosive offensively. But there's always that opening night jitters as well. And things aren't clicking like they will be later on in the season. Now, yes, that can happen defensively as well. But I think that number a little bit too high. Wanted to grab that one early. Wish we could have got it at the 240. But I still don't hate the 234 under on that one. Later game, nothing that really stands out to me. I probably with you, I lean a little bit to Golden State, but I'll probably leave that game alone and mostly focus on DFS. So let's take a look at some of the title contenders, Scott, people that everyone is betting on to win the title. No surprise, the Los Angeles Lakers leading the way here. And these are courtesy of the FanDuel Sportsbook. 37% of the bets coming in on the Lakers here. And this one, I get it. They're a public team. Everybody loves LeBron, the combination of LeBron and Anthony Davis. People say if they didn't have injuries last season, they probably win the title again. So I certainly understand, but just not a big fan of this team in general. Some of the guys that they brought in here, it's like a retirement home, Scott. The Dwight Howards of the world and Carmelo Anthony, and there's other guys that they've brought in. I just don't understand the thought process here. I get it. You need some veteran presence, guys like Trevor Ariza coming in and Kent Bazemore. And it's just to me, it's the team is too old. Ideally you have a mix of up and coming stars, and they certainly have got, Talon Horton Tucker is a guy I think has a lot of potential here, but this is a team that feels like they're going to break down and too many geriatrics, too many injuries here potentially. So I get it, but I don't understand the 37% of the bets coming in on this team.
Yeah, you're right about that team being old. I mean, damn, the trainer's got to have a lot of work on his hands throughout the season. I mean, I was just looking at the rosters you were talking. I mean, Carmelo Anthony, Dwight Howard, Westbrook, James, Davis. I mean, these guys are just historically been injured throughout the season. So, I mean, yeah, you put them on paper and maybe you play a quick little playoff type tournament, for a few games. Yeah, I like their chances, but to burn through 80 some games and then have to play a playoff series and I mean, unless these guys really do a really good job of limiting their minutes and their time played, I just don't see how they can go through the season without really suffering any kind of significant injury. I mean, it seems like Davis gets injured for stepping on the crack of the sidewalk. I mean, it's just like he's one of the most frustrating guys to play in DFS basketball. I can't tell you how many times I've had that guy, and then you see on the screen that he's out and not coming back, and that's really frustrating. But yeah, we'll see, especially with the NBA. I mean, I was kind of surprised you got the champion who is eighth in money coming in at 3%. And then you got three of the teams that are actually playing tonight are the top three teams that are bringing in the money with Lakers, Nets, and Warriors. So, yeah, I mean, if I'm looking at this and I'm the Milwaukee Bucks tonight, I might be a little slighted by this. Feel like, hey, everybody forgot about us here. But, yeah, I mean, for me, I think this year is going to be a little bit more of a wide open year than we've seen in the past. Like in the NBA in the past, it seems like we could just narrow it down to two or three teams. I actually think this year you could see maybe a handful of teams, and we're kind of seeing that here, you had 62% of the bets were the top three teams, but you normally don't see that in the NBA season. Even some of these teams that are getting 5% of the money, coming in. I don't mind the Suns. I don't mind Denver. I don't mind any of these teams. I think they got a shot. I mean, you're looking at these teams now at the beginning of the season. Who knows what could happen as far as injuries, any kind of trades come throughout the year. We always see that trade where it seems like, how is this working out? Where, like the Nets adding some of the guys that they added, or, it just seems like there's always something like that goes out through the season. So I kind of like taking stabs at some longer shot teams this year, and I might just throw some money down on a couple of these teams that I might be able to get longer shot here and have some fun throughout the year, and at least have a little skin in the game, because I don't think our Pistons are quite there yet. So I usually like to adopt a team and have some fun with a bet throughout the year.
Hey, plus 25,000 if you're believing in the Pistons on FanDuel. So maybe worth a few bucks. Why not? I do like the direction they're going. So as far as the top few favorites, Brooklyn is the favorite, plus 250. So you're not making much there. 2.5 to 1. The Lakers plus 400. So you can get 4 to 1 on them. Milwaukee does check in with the third highest odds on FanDuel, plus 650 on Golden State, plus 1,200, and then Utah, plus 1,400. So I agree with you. Some of these teams like Phoenix, I mean, another year with this group together. I mean, they pretty much kept everybody in check here, plus 1,500. I know they have the DeAndre Ayton situation going on with the contract, but they showed last year they have that mix of veterans and up-and-coming stars, role players. I really like their setup. You mentioned Denver, another team I really like at plus 2,500. One that's kind of surprising and ranks pretty high on this list we saw was the Chicago Bulls coming in at 4th. Now, just 7% of the bets, they're at plus 6,000, and a lot of excitement around this team. Lonzo Ball now in town. DeMar DeRozan now in town. We saw him add Nikola Vucevic last year. So a lot of high-profile names that people know. So they were an interesting one. Philadelphia, another one, ranks in the top 5 here, 6% of the bets. Denver, Phoenix, like we mentioned. Milwaukee just getting 3% of the bets. Knicks and Celtics round things out here. The Knicks, another interesting team, really took a step forward last season. Pretty long odds on them here, plus 10,000. I don't know that they have the necessary star power. I love RJ Barrett. I think Julius Randle really blossomed before our eyes last season, but do they have that guy that can carry them when need be? So maybe Randle is that guy, but I don't hate plus 10,000 here on the Knicks either. But some of these super teams, clearly the heavy favorites here, Brooklyn, Lakers, Milwaukee, and Golden State.
Yeah, it should be an interesting season. I am kind of excited for the Pistons. I like I said, I don't watch it all that much, but, it is exciting when your team's in the playoffs. I mean, I know last year you had to have a lot of fun, especially shipping the title for your boys there. But, I like some playoff basketball. I mean, every possession matters. It's like baseball, every pitch matters. I mean, it's a lot of fun. And the Pistons were good here a few years back. Had a lot of fun. It just the excitement around that, the area is great. So yeah, kind of excited. Hopefully we get some of these boys here rolling here. These youngsters we got. I really like Cade Cunningham that we drafted. So we'll see how he fits in. I know everybody's ear to the ground to hear if he's going to get out and play this first few games, but sounds like probably be best to sit him out a couple games, but we'll see what happens. But yeah, exciting times. NBA starting, hockey starting, playoff baseball. I mean, this is one of the best times of the sports year, if you ask me.
Yeah, absolutely. So again, if you're playing DFS tonight, I think Jordan Poole, a guy you want to look at for value. Bruce Brown is very interesting here for the Nets. And I think those studs from that second game will go a little bit overlooked. Everyone's going to have ownership on a 2-game slate, no doubt. But I think Durant and Harden and Giannis are going to come in a much higher ownership rate. So I really like a pairing of Steph Curry, Anthony Davis, something like that, just to kind of differentiate, maybe pick some of the value pieces out of that first game. Even a guy like Paul Millsap, Jordan Nwora, like we talked about, Joe Harris, a guy that can get hot and hit some threes. You get that bonus on DraftKings. So just try to leave some salary on the table, I think is the best way to cover that. So let's transition over to MLB. We already have one game in progress, so we'll just talk about the later game with Boston and Houston. That first series, though, surprising to see the Braves up 2-0. I told you in the beginning, Scott, I was worried about them. They were on a roll. They whooped up on my Brewers. Now out to a quick start against the Dodgers. But Boston been a surprise here as well, up 2-1 on Houston. So a quick synopsis here tonight. Any best bets here in MLB? I know you've been good with these single game parlays here in baseball. So what do we got for a quick thought here on this Astros-Red Sox game tonight?
Yeah, this Astros-Red Sox game, I mean, the Astros pitching has just been terrible so far, and I think that's going to continue again tonight. Greinke is just god-awful. He's been terrible I can't even believe they're giving him the ball. I just believe that's just how desperate the Astros are. I mean, Greinke hasn't pitched in a month. His last 13 innings, he's literally given up 5 homers. He's given up 19 hits. So Greinke is just struggling. I do not expect him to go very long today. You're right. I have been really hot on the baseball. Yesterday, my baseball best bet was the Red Sox in the first 5 innings, and I'll tell you what, I'm going right back to it today. I think the Red Sox are going to smash Greinke. They're going to probably put up a few runs here right away, and I like Pivetta. Pivetta isn't that bad of a pitcher, so I think, just kind of looking at paper, the Red Sox definitely have the advantage in the first half of that game for sure. And then, yeah, you're right. I've been really hot on these single game parlays. I shipped one yesterday for pretty close to 1,000. I'm going to go back to another one tonight, and I'll be willing to share it with everybody. So I got JD Martinez, anytime RBI. I have JD Martinez to hit a home run. And then I have the over in the game, over 10. And then I also have the Red Sox to win the first 5 innings. So I have those 4 parlayed. I believe it was plus 1,700, something like that. So bet 50, you win 8 something or 900 some bucks with get your 50 back. But yeah, I really like that. So I think the Red Sox here are just going to come out and smash them. I mean, Red Sox been really hot lately. I like the spot here. I just think with Greinke, I don't think Greinke's going to make it even a couple innings. So I know Evaldi or we got Evaldi or Pivetta. I'm sorry, I was thinking about yesterday. I was so excited, but Pivetta actually has been had 8 Ks and 7 Ks his last couple innings. I don't mind the K prop. I believe it was 5.5. So I kind of like him going over 5.5 for Ks as well. But I did not have that in my parlay, my single game parlay. I just had the JD RBI. Obviously, if JD hits a homer, we're looking good, especially in the first few innings. It just kind of all correlates together. But yeah, I really like these Red Sox tonight.
Yeah, for sure. A couple guys pretty good history against Greinke. JD Martinez, one of them, couple home runs over his career. So he's plus 320 on FanDuel to hit a home run. Hunter Renfroe has gone yard 3 times against Greinke. So if he is in the lineup, he's another guy at plus 320 you could add in there. So yeah, I think there's certainly ways to go on this one. I like the single game parlay, like you mentioned, that JD Martinez. He knocks out 2 birds with 1 stone. He hits a home run. He hits the home run and the RBI prop all in one. So I always like combining those 2 kind of things and making it a little bit easier on yourself. Agree on the over here. We saw last night. There's going to be a lot of runs scored. I'm with you. I'm not a believer in Greinke here. This Boston team is playing well. The offense is clicking. So hopefully you're handing out a winner there, Scott. I'm probably going to jump on board here myself. I really like all the legs of that thing. So, again, single game parlay is a lot of fun. You can find those pretty much everywhere now. FanDuel, DraftKings, wherever else you bet. So a fun way to kind of mix some different things together, and you hit a nice little the lunch money, like you call it. So loving that there. So let's transition now to the NFL. Let's talk some injuries here. Some big names going to be missing here. So first one, Julio Jones. We saw him leave the game last night, hamstring injury, so he did not return to the game. Kareem Hunt sounds like he's going to miss 4 to 6 weeks, was placed on IR by the team. Also, Nick Chubb was announced out for Thursday night. So we know Cleveland going to be thin at that running back position. Signed John Kelly today. So we'll talk more about that when we discuss waivers here in a second. Baker Mayfield there as well, dealing with a shoulder injury and no practice for him yesterday. Paris Campbell, significant foot injury in week 6. A guy we saw catch a touchdown. Been very inconsistent, not only this season, but throughout his career. Sounds like he may be out potentially for the rest of the year. Alex Collins, we know Seattle already thin with Chris Carson on IR. A couple big hits in week 6 against Pittsburgh, but Pete Carroll suggesting he may be able to play. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. Sounds like they're going to get Rashad Penny back. We had Dak Prescott dealing with an injury as well. They go on bye, so nothing to really worry about this week, but you may want to look forward at your quarterback position. So, Scott, of those injuries, obviously the Cleveland running back situation tops the list here. No Chubb, no Hunt there, potentially no Baker Mayfield. We'll see if they get Jarvis Landry back, but the walking wounded here in Cleveland.
Yeah, Cleveland. Yeah, I don't know what they did to the football injury guys. They must have pissed somebody off because I think they're going to be missing both their tackles. I was kind of reading today that there's some doctors that are telling Baker he should shut it down for the rest of the season, which he does not want to do. I believe he's going to get a second opinion. So, I mean, at this point, with the two running backs being out, I mean, I mean, their whole dang team is hurt. If they're going to have to be pulling some guys off the waiver wire here themselves. So, as far as waiver guys go, I mean, we're going to obviously have to keep our ears to the ground and see who we're kind of going to guess who's going to get the lion's share of the carries there for Cleveland. But, the one that kind of bugged me was Kareem Hunt. I mean, I had him in some DFS, and I knew better. I had him. I faded him in some spots, played him in others, but kind of wish now I would have faded him, obviously, because he was so high owned. It was just such a perfect spot, and then all of a sudden, bam, he gets injured, 4 to 6 weeks. So, that's just a shame for him. But, I mean, that's just going to really change the whole dynamics of that Cleveland offense, not having the two of those running backs, just being able to bring them two in and for those guys just to both be fresh all the time has definitely been a problem. I think they could obviously do without Baker more so than they can do without the two of those running backs, if you ask me. But, that's a shame for Cleveland. Thought they had some high hopes. They're just another team kind of like the Lions. They just don't have any luck. So, the bad luck bug is getting the Browns here, unfortunately for them.
Yep, no doubt. A couple more that weren't on the list. Austin Knox, we kind of saw last night, throws that pass on that 2-point conversion with a broken hand. Josh Allen tried to call the play off. He just kind of shot-putted the ball out there. It sounds like he may miss a week or two. Nothing significant there on that one. Ronnie Stanley of the Ravens, left tackle, placed on season-ending IR. So obviously that's a huge hit to that running game especially. We saw all those guys score touchdowns last week, but that's certainly not going to help. And then Kadarius Toney. We've talked about him a lot. We had Josh Norris on the show the other day, so make sure you guys go and check that out if you want to learn more about Underdog Fantasy. All of our shows are generally posted right here on the Woodward Bets page on Twitter. Can also find them on YouTube. But he's a guy that we talked about, Kadarius Toney. That ankle injury may be a little bit more serious than first expected. So another guy, unfortunately, may have to shut it down. He's been a bright spot there in an otherwise gloomy season for the Giants, Scott. It's been pretty bad there. So we'll certainly keep an eye on that. So let's go to some waiver claims here. Again, a lot of leagues run Tuesday nights, so we want to make sure you're covered. And some leagues run Wednesday. But clearly top of the list is going to be Dearness Johnson. Demetric Felton also for Cleveland. If they are unowned, I can't imagine Johnson being owned in many leagues. He's available in 98% of leagues. So he has to be your big claim. Now, we don't know when Nick Chubb's going to be back, so this may be a 1-2 week thing, but I still think he'll be involved. We know they love to use multiple backs. So with Kareem Hunt gone for a minimum of 3 weeks, potentially 6, I still think Johnson's a guy that can provide value. Felton, a guy that basically play wide receiver as well. So love the prospects for both of those guys. Jameis Winston coming back off a bye week here, 65% availability on him. So bye weeks, Dak Prescott, whatever it may be. Kirk Cousins on bye this week. So if you need a quarterback, we would start there. Khalil Herbert, still available. He looked great last week against Green Bay. So certainly a guy I would feel comfortable with Damian Williams and Montgomery on the shelf. Ramondre Stevenson finally worked his way into the mix here. Even with Damian Harris having a good game, Stevenson very productive, still available in 2/3 of leagues out there. We know Belichick can flip the switch at any time. This guy looked phenomenal in the preseason, so good to see him getting a chance. Ricky Seals-Jones, 71% availability, kind of surprising. We know there's going to be people looking for tight ends with some of these bye teams this week. He's been solid thus far. Le'Veon Bell, 93% availability. This one, I hesitate a little bit. It looks like Murray's going to be the guy. You never know what they're going to do with Tyson Williams. You still have Devontae Freeman getting work there. So I know he found the end zone here, but not real ecstatic about this one, especially with the loss of Stanley. And then some streamers. If you need help at tight end, guys like Zach Ertz, who I think will be very productive with Arizona. Cole Kmet, another guy who we think will get it going here eventually. Chris Evans at the running back position we saw find the end zone this week against Detroit, which everybody does, but I think Evans going to have some value. A couple defenses. Carolina and New England look to be in good spots here this week. And then some guys coming off the pup. The big one, Michael Thomas, and also Jeff Wilson of the 49ers. Always valuable to have those 49ers running backs. So, Scott, this week a little bit more viable on the waiver wire. A lot of options here. And again, injuries, buys, it really starts to get tough this time of year. So Johnson, to me, a priority here. I wouldn't mind spending 30, 35, 40% of my budget. I don't know that I'd go crazy with it. And you're talking 70, 80% unless you're totally desperate for a running back. But he certainly highlights this list this week.
Yeah, I mean, he's obviously going to get run for a couple weeks for sure. So I don't mind him at all, especially, in an offense like the Browns. We'll have to keep our eye on Baker if he gets out there or not. But yeah, I don't mind this at all. I mean, it's the question is how many balls will Johnson maybe catch out of the backfield? Will Felton be that back? Kind of just going to see how they end up using the two of them. But I'm going to guess with Johnson, he's just more of the, prototypical NFL type back. And I know they like to play smash mouth football. So I'm going to guess Johnson's going to be the main guy there. And then you mentioned Jameis. I really like Jameis. I know he just had a big game. He came off on a bye. But you just look ahead at his schedule. He's got Seattle, Tampa, Atlanta, and Tennessee, all good teams to have your quarterback going against. So I think he is in a good spot here for the next 3 or 4 weeks, especially to cover up bye. So, hey, even if you got a quarterback that potentially is going to be on a bye week 7, week 8, look ahead, and maybe Jameis is a guy that's out there for you. As Beer mentioned, you got Michael Thomas coming back. Traquan Smith is supposed to be due back here. So I do like Jameis moving forward. And then you mentioned Stevenson on the Patriots. I actually was in a couple season-long leagues where he was drafted and then cut. So obviously there was some people that did like his potential and upside in that New England offense. And as you mentioned, Belichick will always go with the hot back. So I don't mind him. They did turn to him for a short goal line touchdown. He had 5 rushes. He had 3 targets, 39 yards. So, are they going to run out the kid, or are they going to keep running out that old dusty Brandon Bolden? So I think they're going to start focusing more on Stevenson. So I like that. And then Lev Bell, I'm with you on Lev Bell. I think he's just too dusty and old for me. I'm just going to probably stay away from him. Murray is injured a little bit, so we'll have to kind of pay attention to that. But I still don't like Bell, even if they deem Murray to be out. I still would probably pass on Lev Bell. But Ricky Seals-Jones, he had that long touchdown. Seems to be a favorite of Heineke's here recently, so I really like him as well. But, for me so far, I think Jameis is a guy that you should probably be looking at, especially if you need a quarterback. I know a lot of leagues, you only got to carry one quarterback. So he'd be a guy that, even could stash for a week or two, like I said, if you need somebody in week 8. So Jameis is somebody I'd probably be looking at.
Yeah, no doubt. He hasn't looked like the Tampa Bay Jameis, but I think that offense, especially if they get Michael Thomas back, certainly can get you by at least for a week. I don't know about him as your answer to the rest of the season, but as a 1-week fill-in, no doubt. So let's take a look at some of the early lines here, Scott. I'm not going to read through all of these. We'll just take a look and see if any of them tickle your fancy, as I like to say. A few of them really stand out to me as ones I really want to get on. The first one, Cincinnati, plus 6.5 there in that game at Baltimore. So Cincinnati playing at a very high level. We saw them come in, and UMBC nailed it. I had hopes for the Lions. I should have known better, but very impressed with this team right now. And Baltimore kind of been all over the map. They looked great last week against the Chargers team we thought would contend at minimum in that game. But I like taking Cincinnati here with the points. I think that loss to Stanley can't be understated. So that one stood out. I really like the Chiefs in the spot. I think there's a little bit of recency bias here with the way Tennessee played last night. You have to give it up, no doubt. Spirited effort, beating Buffalo last night, but Kansas City coming to town, and I think they're starting to right the ship. We saw that in that game against Washington. So I really like the minus 4.5 with the Chiefs. And there was one more. Oh, I love Tampa here. I just don't see how. Yes, that Chicago defense is phenomenal. But I just don't see how they're going to slow this team down, and how are they going to score points offensively? We know Chicago loves to run the ball. You just can't do that against Tampa Bay. So is Justin Fields suddenly going to break out of his shell and throw for 400 yards here? Are we going to get Allen Robinson game we've all been waiting on? Is Cole Kmet going to come to life? Darnell Mooney? I just don't see it happening here for the Chicago Bears. And, of course, we have to talk about, Scott, Detroit, of course, going out to take on the Rams and Matthew Stafford here. That could be another bloodbath here. So I think Sean McVay, Stafford, I think they're going to let this guy rip, and it would not surprise me to see Stafford throw 4 or 5 touchdowns in this game. So I'm going to be all over his overs this weekend. I know that as far as touchdowns go, and I think he's going to take this one personal, and he doesn't come off as that kind of guy, but there's some bad blood there, and I think he lets it rip against the Lions here. So those are a few that I really like. Again, Kansas City, Cincinnati, Tampa Bay. The Rams probably one we should like as well, but I'm going to be more so on the Stafford props this weekend.
Yeah, I don't blame you. I was just looking. I think that Lions line, it's we got it up at 14.5. I believe it's already been bet up almost close to 16, 15.5 in some spots. So, I mean, that thing could obviously get up to 17. But if it gets up to where, I mean, at 14.5, I don't mind the tease getting the Rams down to like 8.5. I don't mind that at all, where I get them under 10. And kind of looking at that game, I would like the under is what I'm thinking. I don't think the Lions are really going to be able to put up too many points. I mean, damn, the coach just came out, called out Goff, basically said he's going to bench him. I mean, if they bring in Blau, that'll even be a bigger circus act than what we already see. So I don't even expect the Lions to score too many points here. So I kind of like the under in that one as well. But as you know, Beer, I like to look and kind of just figure out some games that I might be able to tease up with my 6 points and get over some lines. I know you mentioned the Chiefs there minus the 4.5, but I kind of like the Titans getting 10.5 in a situation like that at home, especially with a guy like Henry. I mean, I just don't think the Chiefs are better than the Titans by 10 points. So kind of like that, and just different situations like that is what I like to look at. Here, too, you got the Eagles are going to be traveling out to the Raiders, and the Eagles are getting 2.5. If I can bump that up to 8.5, I don't think the Raiders are better than 8.5 than the Eagles. So just situations like that is what I kind of like to look at. You mentioned the Bucks. I mean, you could tease that one down from 11.5 to maybe 5.5 and get it below a touchdown. You're going through 10 and 7. So I really like that. You know, I like to look at the situations that I think are going to kind of bounce up and tease those games and try to get in a little early if I can. So just to mention a few there that I saw early so far this week.
And just a refresher, reminder, if you're new, whatever it may be, teasers are where you adjust the line. Generally, it's 6 points. I know there's 3 and there's different numbers. Some will let you go even higher, but for the most part, it's 6 points. And you put together a few teams similar to a parlay. The odds aren't as great, but Scott mentioned, if anytime you can cross through multiple key numbers of 3, 7, 10, things like that, that's the way to go. So I love the ones that cross the 3 and the 7, whether you're going up, like you mentioned with Philadelphia, or you're bringing it down under that 3 with a big favorite. Those are always a lot of fun. So that was our teasers kind of in a nutshell. And again, we'll start to get more, different articles and things on these different terminology. So to help you guys learn how to bet, that is why we are here covering betting, covering fantasy, and covering DFS. So again, if you ever have any questions, at Woodward Bets, Scott is at G_Risen. I am at Beer Makers Fan. That's going to wrap us up here for today's show. Thank you for listening. Make sure you head over to Underdog Fantasy. Use promo code WSN. Get $10 free for a $10 deposit. Give it a shot on some NBA tonight. Tomorrow's a huge slate of games. And we will be back tomorrow with our KMA segment. So send us your KMAs. Whoever made you angry this weekend, don't tweet at the player. Send it to us. We'll discuss it here on the show. We'll cover that NBA slate info, recap some of the waivers, keep an updated look at the NFL lines and injuries, and just keep an eye on everything across the sports world. We know you guys are busy. Let us do the heavy lifting for you here at Woodward Bets. Scott, final thoughts for the people here on this beautiful Tuesday evening.
Yep, just to clarify my parlay, I actually have 2 single-game parlays, so I want to give out the one I actually like the best, and I'm going to put the Pavetta one. So I got Pavetta over 5Ks. I have J.D. Martinez to hit a homer, J.D. Martinez to record an RBI, and then I have the Red Sox in the first 5. I also did the same one, but instead of Pivetta, I had the over in the complete game. But I got both of those, so we'll see what happens. And but that's my best bet for the night. Hopefully the Red Sox win, and we'll catch you guys tomorrow with some more lunch money.
There you go. My best bet of the night, I'm going to stick with that under. We both like in the Milwaukee-Brooklyn game. Under 234 is the best price I can find, so that's what we'll lock in. I think we both lean Golden State in that one, catching the points. But I'm going to lock in on that under as my best bet, along with the J.D. Martinez home run. I like betting that one here tonight. So I'll mark those as my 2 best bets. So thank you again for listening. Thank you for all the support. The Twitter page growing slowly, so let's get some follows over that thing. Let's see if we can get over 100 and let that thing start to roll. So thank you to each and every one of you for checking out the show. We greatly appreciate it. For Scott, for Sawyer behind the glass producing the show, I am Beer saying salut. We are Woodward Bets. Thank you for watching. We'll see you tomorrow.